Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. The title of today's webinar is Plant Power in the Kitchen. My name is Julie Bora-Pitchford, and I am a nutrition education consultant with the California Department of Education Nutrition Services Division. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to team up with the Humane Society of the United States to bring you this webinar. As part of their mission, the Humane Society of the United States assists schools with implementing plant-based meals through culinary workshops and resources on their website. We are really fortunate to have them as our partner in California. As you can see, we have some great presenters lined up today from a variety of schools. At this time, I would like to introduce Lauren Pitts from the Humane Society of the United States, who will be moderating the webinar. Lauren is a registered dietitian and a food and nutrition specialist for the Humane Society of the United States, where she works with institutions in Southern California to add more plant-based options to their menus. Lauren will now introduce our panel presenters. Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Julie. As Julie said, I'm Lauren Pitts. I'm a registered dietitian with the Humane Society of the United States, and I am so excited to be on this webinar and introduce our amazing speakers. The first speaker will be Carla Dumas. Carla is a registered dietitian with the Humane Society of the United States and was a former supervisor of nutrition services at Sarasota Public Schools, where she started Meatless Mondays. The second speaker will be Rihanna Liversage. Rihanna is the nutrition services technician with Banning Unified School District, where she also started Meatless Mondays. And our third speaker is Kirsten Rollison. Kirsten is the Assistant Director of Nutrition Services with Riverside Unified School District, where they are doing a wonderful job incorporating more plant-based options on the menus. Now I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, Carla Dumas. Carla, take it away.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Thank you all for being part of this webinar today. I know all of you have very busy schedules. We appreciate the time taken. And today we are going to talk about plant power in the kitchen. And Julie, if you'd like to go to the next slide. And when we think about any kind of new initiative, we know that the key to a successful program is really thinking about actively engaging your customer. And we know that in cafeterias today, our customer is Generation Z, or lovingly called Gen Z, and oftentimes it can be a little intimidating to think about what is going to appeal to them because they live in such a fast-paced world. They're used to having so much information come at them at a really quick rate. But what we know, and this data is taken from Gordon Food Services, is that Gen Z is really thinking about where their food is coming from and wanting to know that. So words like sustainable, organic, natural really appeal to them. And we know that this data is corroborated by YPulse, which is a research and consulting firm focusing on Gen Z and millennial research. And they recently conducted a survey and leadership discussion with food service professionals. And then what they found was that regardless of student age, it appeared that these categories were trending up. And you can see adding more fruits and vegetables, international cuisine, food that's fresh, fast, and made from scratch, looking at more choices. Next. And what we also know and they found is that high school students especially begin to follow eating patterns similar to young adults and college-age students, where we know that plant-based foods are really taking off, and they think about food, nutrition, and ethical values. Next. And we know that these ideas are directly in line with national culinary forecasts, and one of that is that people are no longer scared of fruits and vegetables, although these peppers are kind of scary, but wanting more of them on their plate. This is something that we've been seeing at a national level for several years, and it's just picking up more and more. Next slide. And we're seeing this happen in child nutrition as well. If any of you saw last December's School Nutrition magazine, there was a large feature on plant-based protein power. Next. And this particular article looked at plant-based protein items that can be added at home, but also at schools. And we know that studies show that the more veggie-based meals that students are consuming at an earlier age can establish healthful lifelong habits, as you see there, but it can also reduce the risk for certain chronic diseases. Next, like heart disease. We know that heart disease is the leading killer for both men and women in America, but what you may or may not know is that according to data from the American Heart Association, the early stages of heart disease can be seen in children as young as 10 years old. So thinking about getting kids really excited about fruits and vegetables and foods that are low in saturated fat and cholesterol, like whole grains and plant-based proteins, is so key. Next. And as Lauren indicated, prior to joining the Forward Food program with the Humane Society, I worked for a school district in Florida for 10 years, and we did implement Meatless Monday, as I'm sure many of you on the call have as well. And what we did this for a variety of different reasons. This was an actual email that I received from a student, so we were getting this more and more from students wanting to see more of these options, but also a great way to tie in nutrition education and health promotions. And when implementing a newer program, we, in particular with Sarasota County, started off with foods that would be familiar with students, that we knew they enjoyed already. And then as the program became more established, began to explore more plant-based proteins and different recipes focusing on that. And we know that this is so critical because you can start a program with the best intentions, and if you don't get the kids to enjoy it and to consume it, then they're not getting the nutrition and the essential nutrients that they need there. Next. So that's why we work to develop resources that can make this very seamless for you. Last webinar, Christy talked about some of the communication tools, and in addition to that, we have an ever-expanding database of recipes and a free culinary training for your staff. And I know that especially in California, many of you have worked with Lauren to bring these trainings to your districts. And this is a picture of a training that we did in city schools of Decatur. And these particular trainings, these are just images of some of the trainings we've done across the country. These are free, and they can be done a variety of different ways, whether we bring food demonstrations and samplings to hands-on training where the staff is getting to experience how easy and delicious the food can be. And I am going to next show you a sample of what some of those recipes would look like. And we do provide a variety of different recipes, and the database is where you would choose those varieties. So you can see we have entrees and we have side dishes, and it's a great way to incorporate a lot of produce items. So the next slide is going to show you a video of what this particular training would look like. Maybe. It does not look like it's going to work. And we'll make sure that we have this available if you are interested, but this would have just given you an example of what the training looked like from St. Joseph's School District in Missouri. But what all of these recipes do entail is that they are plant-based, and a majority of the recipes feature beans and legumes as the primary protein source or meat alternate option of the meal. And we try to incorporate this because universally, these are the easiest plant-based proteins for schools to source, no matter how large or how small or how available different products are. And if you can go to the next slide, they are one of the cheapest options as well. This is an example of an email that I received. We've been working with KinderCare, which is an early child care program, and they recently incorporated several plant-based recipes to their menus across the country. And what they found was that not only are the health benefits there, but they saw a savings in food costs. So saving money on the protein, they're able to invest more in other meal and snack offerings on the menu. And this is something that I'm sure many of you have experienced as well, and I did coming from the school district I came from. So we were able to filter a lot of that cost savings into our farm to school initiative. And of course, when we think about beans and legumes, oftentimes this is what comes to mind. And unfortunately, beans tend to get a bad rap. But what we know is that studies show that the issues related to gastrointestinal distress are overestimated. And this is not something that we should necessarily worry about, but it is funny with the different songs. But there are certain things that you can do in the kitchen to limit any of that may happen. And the biggest thing there is to really make sure that you're rinsing the beans and legumes well, whether you're using canned or you're using dried beans. And this is also an added benefit because if you're using canned beans, rinsing them really well reduces up to 40% of the sodium content, which is an added bonus. And we know that these foods can be turned into delicious dishes. This is one of our recipes called the Fiesta Rice and Beans Shaker. And this picture was taken from San Ysidro School District's training, which was the very first. It was our pilot workshop. But this is something that appeals to students in a variety of different ways. As we saw, they're wanting more grab-and-go, kind of fresh items. We've gotten feedback that students saying it's very similar to something you would see or prepare from a Chipotle or something similar to that. Next slide. Or if you're especially working in a high school district or secondary level, trying something like a Mediterranean flatbread with a white bean hummus is a great option. Next. Or capturing that international flavor by doing a chana masala or chickpea biryani. Next. And another really popular culinary trend that we're seeing this year is this idea of vegetarian comfort food. So playing a little twist on some of the familiar favorites, like a savory shepherd's pie, using a variety of different beans and legumes. Next. And what we know is that this is not an all or nothing concept. So some of you may be doing a meatless Monday, a lean and green, looking to add more of these options, but another great way to add even more plant-based proteins is focusing on this idea of blendability. And this resource, as you can see, was taken from pulses.org. They have a fantastic website with different recipes, but we're seeing this taking over in many school districts, the idea of replacing half or all of the protein with beans and legumes, and this is just one example. Next. Another example of that is using a burger, and I know that many school districts in California and across the country are doing this. This is an example of what is called a Congo burger from a school district in New York, and we're seeing districts blend in mashed beans. This particular one added some fruits and veggies by bringing in mushrooms and mango to add a little burst of nutrition. Next. And of course, we're seeing more and more districts adding tofu. And oftentimes, it's always great to feature this type of a recipe featuring tofu in our workshops, because I find that oftentimes people have a preconceived notion about tofu. And what I would definitely say about that is to be used as a true ingredient. It takes on the flavors and spices and marinates and really can add to the recipes there. Next slide. And Oakland Unified School District is one of the school districts that's having great success with tofu, with a stir-fried tofu with bok choy. And we also know that there are many companies on the market that have products available for schools to utilize. So whether it's swapping out the meat for meatless products in existing recipes or looking at prepared products that are available. Next. And we know that many programs naturally are tying in their plant-powered dishes to their farm-to-school initiatives, or in California, like your California Thursdays. Next. And we're seeing this done in a variety of different ways. This is a snapshot from the school district that I came from, and we had the opportunity to have a large-scale classroom nutrition education program. And we had the opportunity to bring in farmers and do tasting parties, which is what you're seeing here, where we had the opportunity to give kids the ability to try different foods that they may not be familiar with and do it in a fun way. And then when they saw these foods in the cafeteria, they were more likely to take them and to eat them. Next. And we're seeing more and more programs that have schools that have gardens tie this into their plant-powered programs here so that students are able to harvest and try these foods and get really invested in the initiative. Next. And of course, student tasting is so important. So the first step is doing one of our culinary workshops and getting staff excited about these initiatives and tasting the foods and seeing what students would like, and then bringing these recipes to the students here. This was from City Schools of Decatur in Georgia, and this was one of the recipes that we did in the workshop, and then they brought to the students that featured local kale. It's called the Kicking Kale Salad, and it received rave reviews with the students and will be on their menus soon. And of course, then tying in the component for families as well. This was a newsletter that we collaborated with KinderCare on by scaling down some of the plant-based recipes they have on their menu so that families can prepare them at home, as well as looking at tips for introducing new foods so that kids are becoming even more familiar with these foods, not only at school, but at home too. And just to wrap everything up, really the work and resources that we have to support your programs that are doing such amazing and important work is that we are trying to bring some of these educational tools in a fun way so that kids are excited about plant-based proteins and fruits and vegetables and whole grains. So thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to share that information with you. And I am going to now pass everything over to Rihanna.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Rihanna Liversage, and I am a nutrition technician for Banning Unified School District. I am so excited for this opportunity to share today because Meatless Mondays has been an important tool for us to improve upon healthy food access. I would like to share some of the fun we have had with Meatless Mondays and how we have incorporated it into nutrition education for both students and staff. Okay, so I'm a firm believer that reducing meat consumption can have a tremendous positive impact on our health and on our environment. Before I begin talking about Meatless Mondays and plant power in our district, I would like to talk a little bit about our district and the area that surrounds it. So the built environment of the city of Banning contains very few grocery stores with surpluses of fast food restaurants, convenience stores, making healthy food access a challenge. So we know this as a food desert. Next. According to Riverside County's health assessment data, less than 48% of children in Riverside County are eating enough fresh fruits and vegetables. As a school district, we know we have an incredible opportunity to improve food access by bringing in more fresh fruits and vegetables. Our district started an initiative to create a healthier school environment through policy change, through nutrition education, promoting physical activity, and by improving access to healthier foods. Last year, we started farm-to-school programs, joined the California Thursdays Network, and implemented Meatless Mondays, which would all be used as platforms to support our initiative. Next. Last year, I had the opportunity to attend the Food Forward event at Loma Linda University, which was hosted by the Humane Society. They had various speakers from school districts to hospitals and health organizations that came to share their success stories with implementing plant-based proteins. I was so inspired by the plethora of information on going meatless and the impact that it has on our health and our environment. I just knew that our district had to be a part of the initiative. Now, anytime you want to start a new program, we all know it can be overwhelming, but I felt like we had so much support from the Humane Society, from training to marketing materials to recipes. I was confident that we could successfully implement it. Next slide, please. We first started by planning our training day for our staff, and the Humane Society did a wonderful job in coordinating the training. They first did a presentation on Meatless Mondays, then they followed it with some cooking demonstrations and recipe ideas. At the end of the training, we all had the opportunity to taste some of the delicious plant-powered recipes. Our staff loved everything from the plant-powered pasta to the salsa to the Fiesta rice shakers. Having the Humane Society come to facilitate the training was a very instrumental component and brought more credibility to the training. Meeting the standards for professional development can make it difficult for administration to maintain the buy-in and participation during trainings. It is easy for all of us to, kind of subconsciously or unconsciously, I should say, tune things out. We're all guilty of it. But by having the Humane Society as the trainer, I felt that the training was more captivating. Next slide, please. So we knew that this was going to be a big change for many, and as always, education is very important to the acceptance of new practices. We partnered with our county Department of Public Health, and we did a store tour event for our students and for our parents, and it was supposed to be an interactive time that families could come learn about nutrition education and spend time with one another as well. So at the event, students, families, and staff learned about the different food groups around the store. They received prizes and raffle tickets and got to hear from dignitaries the importance of a healthy diet. I was asked to man the protein aisle and do a mini lesson about the protein group, and I decided to talk about plant-based proteins, and I added Meatless Mondays as an addition to my lesson. I talked about the different types of plant-based proteins, their health benefits, the cost savings, and how as a district, 1 day a week, skip the meat has a tremendous impact on the environment. Participants were amazed by what they learned, so the education component justified the why and promoted buy-in. Now, I know we have all heard these words when rolling out new, healthier menu items. So we tried that and they just didn't like it, or our kids just won't eat that. We were already prepared for this, and we decided to do a training on eating behaviors. We invited nutrition educator Sharice Hendrickson with Nutrition Education and Obesity Prevention to do a lesson on children's taste buds. What our staff learned was that children's taste buds are more sensitive than adults. We also learned that it can take up to 15 tries before a child will become familiar with a flavor and enjoy it. So this helped us to encourage the staff to try something with our students a few times before determining it as a failed menu item. Taste testing has also been very important in the promotion of plant-based proteins amongst our staff. Some of the items our students tasted included fruit and yogurt parfaits, tomato basil soup, vegetable chow mein, and vegetarian refried bean dip. One of the menus that we had some difficulty with was our vegetable chow mein with fire-roasted edamame. Our staff was describing some of the difficulties they were having with the recipe, and we realized that some of these new plant-based proteins were very new to our students and even to our staff. I decided to work with some of the teachers and do some cooking demonstrations and taste testing events. This gave me the opportunity to do a lesson for teachers and students on why we are going meatless, and then tied it into a My Plate lesson. I felt like this was very important because the acceptance of the teachers also impacts the acceptance of the students for certain foods. At the conclusion of the lessons, the students did a taste test, and as you can see from the pictures, they loved it. We had students asking for more of the edamame that was in the chow mein, and students were saying, we don't even like tomatoes, and we love the tomato soup. So the recipes that they once disliked, after some education, they now loved. I was able to take these menu boards and show our staff that the recipes were well accepted by our customers. So I feel strongly that with any new program, it is all about education and that our willingness is fostered by our understanding. I would just like to share, next slide please, what one of our lead cooks had to share about Meatless Mondays. Meatless Mondays has been a great tool to introduce our children to foods that they would otherwise not be exposed to. We are continually improving our menus and recipes to enhance our variety. Since our main objective is to offer clean foods that are appetizing and appealing, I am honored to say our kids are excited about the variety we are offering, and many look forward to Mondays. So I want to thank you all for having me be a part of such a wonderful webinar series, and I'm excited to see where Plant-Based Power and Meatless Mondays takes us next year. So I will now hand the platform over to Kirsten.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Rollison. I'm the Assistant Director of Nutrition Services for Riverside Unified School District. Let's see where are the slides. Here we go. So I'm going to start out by giving you just a brief history of where we started and how we're evolving in the world of school nutrition. In 2005, Riverside Unified opened our first farmers market salad bar that featured locally grown seasonal produce. Within 3 years, we had farmers market salad bars in all 30 of our elementary schools. Since our secondary schools are not set up for a salad bar, we offered a composed salad, such as a summerberry salad or our take on a Waldorf salad, that featured our locally grown vegetables into a composed salad. So, at that time, our salad bars were kind of our solution to a vegetarian meal when we had a meat-based entree on the menu. Because we always had yogurt, we always had legumes, we always had hard-boiled eggs and cheese on our salad bars. So we really felt like that was just a great option for vegetarians. But as time passed and eating trends evolved, this wasn't enough, and our vegetarian students were tired of salads, and we had more students asking for plant-based options. This past summer, I was contacted by one of our school board members. His concern was that we didn't have any hot entrees for our vegan students, and he was right. We had the vegetarian students covered with cheese pizza, bean and cheese burritos, cheese enchiladas, and pasta marinara sauce, but we really didn't have anything for our plant-based eaters. So he put us in touch with Lauren Pitts and also with the people at Hungry Planet. So this really opened up our world opened up the world to plant-based eating for me and my team. Lauren came out to one of our cluster meetings and gave a presentation on plant-based eating and gave a cooking demonstration. The demonstration was awesome. My people were fully engaged, and it was really helpful that my supervisors didn't even know the difference between vegetarian and vegan meal options. The cooking demonstrations and the samples of the food was an excellent way to start the conversation with our people about making some menu changes in our district. It's always helpful, I find, to get our leads on board with any new idea we have, because they're ultimately going to be the ones who sell it to our students. So next up was sampling of a few of the products from that Lauren prepared, as well as some samples we did from some products that were given to us by the Hungry Planet. And my people were sold, and they just really loved the options. So fortunately for us, here in RUSD, we have a director that's a trained chef. And we also have a group of supervisors that either have a vision or have some culinary chops or both. So we all got together and created our own test kitchen to develop a line of plant-based entrees. We met, we brainstormed some ideas for entrees that they thought our students would love. We tried a number of items and settled on 8 to start with. We gave the selected recipes to our dietitian to analyze and to recommend some changes to make them RUSD compliant. Our next step was to introduce them to the rest of our team. And again, they were a hit. Our people loved all the options. So currently we're serving a falafel pita sandwich and falafel salad bowls. We have a range-free Western burger, a range-free chicken, which is plant-based, chicken chili verde rice bowl, and I think if we thumb through some of these slides, next few slides, you'll see some of them. So in the slide you're looking at right now is a range-free Western burger, and I have to tell you, it's excellent. And then our team came up with the meatball sandwich, and it's made with a plant-based Italian sausage tasting product that we formed into balls, and then we made the one clearly without cheese as plant-based and the other one as a vegetarian option. And then the next slide is a picture of our chicken chili verde rice bowl. Again, we took the range-free chicken product and we cut it into cubes and we put it in our chili verde sauce and served it over brown rice. It's excellent product. You wouldn't even know that it was plant-based. We served the amazing lo mein that Lauren demonstrated to our group. Our kids love. We have a vegetarian wrap. Again, another thing our kids just really love. And then part of our, as our team was working with recipes, we came up with a plant-based chili recipe that's just excellent. We came up with a bolognese with a sausage meatball, and all of these items are all plant-based. There is no animal products in them whatsoever, and our people are just really loving them. There we go. And there's a falafel sandwich and a falafel salad. We've got a plant-based range-free chicken enchilada in that picture. So we offer several choices each day at our secondary schools, and the popularity is growing with our students and school site personnel. We found that our students were afraid to try some new things because they didn't want to get stuck with it. So with any item, you know, what they choose for lunch is what they've got to eat that day. So what we did is that we started making samples, and while they were waiting in line to get their lunch, we passed out the samples so they could actually taste them. It's working. The kids loved it. They didn't feel like they were taking a chance on something they didn't like. So some other things that we're doing is that we are collecting some data on how many plant-based meals we're serving each day at our secondary schools so that we can chart the benefits of plant-based eating, what that has in our environment. We'll be introducing a range-free Western burger in January to all of our elementary students. And if my hunch is right, I think they're going to love them. Our older kids do. I'm sure our younger ones will as well. And our next plan is to offer the plant-based chili in a bread bowl. And then moving on from that, we're going to offer the plant-based menus on Monday, but we're not going to promote it as a meatless Monday, but simply just offer vegetarian and plant-based options that are already popular to our students. We really talked about it, and I think psychologically, when we hear meat less, we think we aren't getting something that it's less than what they would normally get. So we're just going to move on. We're going to serve them the great food that they love and not necessarily tell them that it's plant-based. But then on Earth Day, we're going to make a special announcement as we're serving our range-free Western burgers to let them know how long they've been eating plant-based on Monday and to show them the impact it's had on our environment with our charts that we're taking and collecting data on. So that's kind of where we're headed at RUSD. So we've got some great salads that they're going through and getting. Then they're getting some great vegetarian options. My staff is fully invested. They love the idea. They love the food. Our kids love the food. And we're continuing to work on some new ideas and recipes. So pretty much that's our journey that, you know, I've shared RUSD's journey to plant-based meal options. And I guess I'll pass this over to Lauren for a question and answer portion of the webinar.
Well, thank you all so much for your great presentations. It really, really was inspiring. I can say I've had the opportunity to work with both Kirsten and Rihanna, and they both are doing a fabulous job and really leading the way on this. So thank you very much. We will now have an opportunity for questions and answers. You can type in your questions by selecting the Q&A tab at the top right of the screen, typing in your question, and then selecting the send button. And of course, if you have a specific question for one of the speakers, please include that when sending your question in. So I think what we do while we're waiting for those questions to come in, I'll go ahead and kick it off with a simple one to get you started. What are some of the most popular items on your menus? And I think what I'm going to do is start with Carla first, and then we'll do Rihanna and then Kirsten. And Carla, since you work with multiple districts, if you want to share what you've seen has been the most popular with districts all over the country.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. I'm happy to share some of the insight into what I've seen work really well is doing just plays on some of the more basic food items. So I know that I showed a picture, and I know Rihanna was talking about the Fiesta Rice and Beans shaker, doing something as simple as that. It could also be easily moved into a hot dish to do a Fiesta Rice and Beans bowl. Doing another take on that in energizing edamame shaker, we're seeing a lot of success with. I think that both of the school districts had also done a play on a lo mein dish, and that's something that we're seeing as well. And even just to take on a protein-packed chili, we're seeing more and more, or doing a lentil-based sloppy joe, we're seeing a lot of popularity there. So those are a few that come to mind right now.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Rihanna?
I'd say for us, our most popular at the secondary level have been the vegetable chili stuffed baked potato. We also have an Alfredo bake that we do with broccoli. For our secondary or our elementary school, we do the veggie chili also, but we do it over potato wedges instead of a baked potato. We also are going to be trying out a maple biscuit with a veggie sausage sandwich for breakfast. We've also got enchiladas and a rice, bean, and cheese cup with tortilla chips. So those are our most, and our fruit and yogurt parfait for breakfast and steel-cut oatmeal. Those are all have been doing pretty well.
Kirsten, you want to share?
Sure. So I would say our most popular is anything with falafel. The falafel pita sandwich and the falafel salad are number one sellers, followed by the range-free burger, and then amazing lo mein. Our kids love anything in a bread bowl, so the meatless chili is also a big hit. I have to say everything we're putting out there, they're loving. I haven't had anybody say they didn't like it, but those, I would say those were our top choices with our kids right now.
Wonderful. That is so great to hear. And all of those recipes you mentioned, you're making me hungry. So we do have actually several questions coming in. So I'm going to go through some of those right now. The first one is, please share some of the plant-based recipes with us. So I can go ahead and answer that. You can actually go on our website at forwardfood.org to find a lot of our recipes. And then if you want specific recipes that the speakers mentioned, then we will be sharing their contact information, and you can reach out to them directly. The next one is, how do I connect to bring the trainer to my team? Are there minimum number of participants needed to bring a trainer to our sites? Carla, do you want to go ahead and answer that? They have more questions about the training specifically.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I just want to say, as I go on to describe a little bit more about this, with the trainings, we have a template, but they are customizable based on what your need is. So everything I'll share is the general format, but we're happy to look at exploring different options. So in general, the training is about a 2-hour event, and half of that is focusing on the food portion, then half is talking a little bit more about the whys and the hows and best practices in that way. And we are happy to travel anywhere across the country to bring these trainings to you. We do ask that there is, if we can, get a minimum of 20 attendees. And if you are struggling to meet that need, we can certainly work with you or look to maybe partner to bring a few closer school districts together to do a training. We've also done them at chapter meetings for SNA in that way as well, so we could work to do that. But the training itself does also count towards professional standards, and we're happy to, again, any of the recipes that we have in our database, we're happy to highlight in the training. So there's not necessarily a set menu. It's based on what you think would work for your students and get the staff excited. And what we've also done is in some of these trainings where there's districts that are looking for specific flavors or different recipes that are popular and they want to just make a meatless or plant-based version, we've partnered with districts to create recipes to help that as well. So that's another option.
Thank you so much. Kirsten, a question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned a product called Hungry Planet. Where can other districts find this product, and how was it to work with this product? Was it difficult? Was it easy for your staff to learn how to work with it?
So Hungry Planet is a St. Louis-based company. They have a representative here in California. Her name is Jody Boyman. But if you contact the Healthy Planet people, you can get on the internet, find them. They will respond back. They used to only sell to high-end restaurants, and they've just recently started getting into the K-12 scene. But their product is excellent. It's very easy to work with. They have a preformed burger patty, but the rest of their food comes in, it looks like bulk hamburger or bulk ground chicken. And so, for instance, for the chili verde rice bowl, we took the chicken and we formed it into a sheet. We baked it off, we cut it into cubes, and then tossed it with our chili verde sauce. It's really easy to work with, and it's a really excellent product that holds up well. It's texturally appealing, and our people love it. So excellent product. And they also have an Italian sausage that we formed into our meatballs for our meatball sandwich. Again, all plant-based and just really excellent products. But you can find them on the internet and get in touch with them, and they're real easy to work with.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I've worked with Hungry Planet as well with other districts, and they do have a ton of products out there. If that is something that you're interested in, we do have recipes that can incorporate those products, or of course we have recipes that just utilize foods that you might already have in stock, like beans and legumes. So with that, since we're talking about plant-based meat alternatives, Carla and Rihanna, if you all want to share, I don't know, Rihanna, if you use any at all at your school district, and Carla, if you want to share maybe some of the more popular ones that you have used at different school districts. Carla, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Well, it seems like every year there's more and more products that are available on the market. Some that we have used in various workshops and seen schools have a lot of success with are some of the products similar to what we were talking about with Hungry Planet, like a beefless crumble or a chicken-free chicken strip from a company called Beyond Meat. So they have a variety of products that are available that are compliant for schools as well. And we're seeing more and more too with pasta type products that are made from chickpeas and lentils that there's actually a company called Pro Health Pasta that is CM labeled as a meat alternate. So that's another fun way to get some of those products in there. And of course, kids love pasta dishes, and it's also nice because those are naturally gluten-free. So if you have students that have a lot of food allergies or issues related with gluten and other foods, that these type of products would be great, as well as many of the recipes that we have in the database are naturally allergen-free.
We also in Banning Unified have worked with the Beyond Meat. We haven't used a lot of meat alternates yet with our elementary students. We've mostly been doing more beans and legumes. But next year we are going to be introducing more meat alternates. At one of our secondary sites, we did make some of our own pizzas there, and we did a chicken Alfredo with a Beyond Meat chicken strips pizza. And then we also did a sausage and olive and mushroom pizza with the Beyond Meat crumble. We really like the Beyond Meat product, especially the crumble, because it is a pea protein and it is soy-free, gluten-free. It is a very nice product that really takes on the flavor of whatever you are cooking it in and has a good texture to it as well.
Thank you. Yeah, there are a lot of great products out there, and they just continue. I was just at the CSNA conference, and I think there were maybe 4 different booths there with meat alternative products. The newest one that I saw was called Before the Butcher. So that's probably another one that you're going to be seeing pretty soon. So thank you. I got a question in, and this might be a difficult one, but I've read on many websites that white refined sugar is not vegan. When it comes to creating vegan recipes, is it something that you omit? What about bread, grain items? Is it free from animal-based products but contains sugar? Is this something that you avoid? So, Carla, if you want to start first with that, and then Rihanna, and then Kirsten.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Lauren. And I will speak to the recipes that we have. We do have a couple recipes that do call for sugar, and technically that is true. The granulated sugar is not technically vegan, but what we try to do is incorporate as many whole food products as possible. And with those particular recipes for students, especially that are, I would say, ethical vegans, and really focusing on that, our recipes can be altered to swap out different ingredients so that we wouldn't need to use sugar. And I would just say, you know, with the different bread and grain products, I mean, we're working with school districts that have a variety of different bids and companies. So when we call out specific ingredients in our recipes, we do try to indicate that it should be a plant-based product, or like, for example, with different recipes that have mayonnaise or ranch, using egg-free mayonnaise or dairy-free ranch to meet that need.
Thank you so much. Rihanna?
We aren't really adding any, we're not adding any extra sugars into our recipes, so I don't think we've had any issues with this.
Okay, great. And then Kirsten, have you all run into this at all, or had any questions from students or anything like that?
Right, not about sugar, like Rihanna, we don't add sugar to any of our products, especially our entrees. But I have had that come up with yeast, and there's a certain group of our people who they won't eat yeast either. So that's become a little bit of a challenge, but we're working around it. The falafel and a lot of our products, as long as they don't take the bread part of it, it works. So
okay, so you're just more letting the students that are interested know that yeast might be in there or something like that.
Correct.
So at least that they're aware, and then they can make their own decision.
Right.
Okay, wonderful. Can you all speak a little bit to the cost of implementing these programs and initiatives? Carla, I know you talked about it a little bit, but if you wanted to elaborate a bit more, and then again, we'll just kind of go down the line, Rihanna and then Kirsten.
Yeah, I can speak to some of the cost savings that I saw when working in the school district after we implemented Meatless Monday and we're using more meatless protein options. We did see that cost savings, and sometimes we saw anywhere from 2 cents to, we had a recipe where we saw about an 8 to 10 cent per serving cost savings. So we were able to utilize that cost savings to expand upon our farm to school initiatives and buy some more expensive locally sourced produce. And what we're seeing on a national level is very similar to that. I mean, depending on the actual cost savings, it really depends on what food items you're focusing on and incorporating. I would say that if you're looking at using beans and legumes, that's generally going to help you see the largest cost savings there. So whether you're incorporating it as the entire meat alternate or just one ounce of the meat alternate there, you can still see that cost savings.
Brianna, have you seen any cost savings, or has it been cost neutral? Or
Well, I definitely believe that there's a cost savings just because in general the cost of meat products, but this being our first year in it, what our goal is to, at the end of the year, kind of look at more of the numbers and look at the data and compare it to the years prior. We've also been able to get some grants, and with those grants we use the grant money to support some of the nutrition education that we're doing, where we are talking more about plant-based proteins and the taste testing and the farm to school and the farmers markets. So I'm hoping by the end of the year that we can do more of a contrast from the savings from this year as opposed to last year when we were not implementing Meatless Mondays yet.
Wonderful, wonderful. Kirsten?
So it's kind of cost neutral for us, because what we find is that where we're saving money using our commodity legumes, our beans and things like in our vegetarian chili, offsets the cost of maybe spending a few more cents on the meat alternatives, such as the range-free ground beef and that. But, you know, even with that said, it's not that much more expensive to buy some of the Hungry Planet products as it is to buy from our processors. And we stopped buying a lot of processed foods altogether anyway in our district, and we're cooking from scratch. So the money we're saving more than offsets any additional cost we have in providing the fresh, locally grown vegetables that cost a little bit more than the canned, of course. So we just find that we just are shifting money around to make it healthy.
That's great. And I would say that a lot of the districts that I work with either are able to save a little bit of money, like you said, and then, you know, use that for other things like a meat alternative or fresh fruits and veggies, or they're just seeing cost neutral, which is wonderful to be able to implement these programs. Another question that has come in: has anyone surveyed students to find out how to meet their preference needs? And Rhianna, if you want to start with that, since Carla, you don't actually work with the district.
We have not done that yet. We have a snack group that we just started, and it's a Student Nutrition Advisory Council, and they are going to be the ones that start to work on surveys amongst their peers, and that's at the secondary level. And that is something that has come up that they said they wanted to do a project on, but other than that, we have not done a survey on the preferences yet.
Kirsten, have you all done that?
So for quite a few years, what we have done is we have vendor fairs, and rather than vendors bringing their products to us to taste, we set up a fair at 2 of our schools each year, and the vendors present to about 100 students at each of those schools. They're given samples of their products as well as our products, because we have our own booth of the items that we're making, and they have a survey, and our children rate the foods they liked and what they didn't like, what they liked about them, what they didn't like about them. We go back and reformulate, and then at the end of it, we let them know that in the survey, their top choices are going to be what they're eating next year. And so they really take it seriously. We get a lot of really positive feedback. We get a lot of, and not just that they love everything, but helpful suggestions. You know, we would like this better if, or why don't you have more? And that was another thing. Why don't you have more vegetarian dishes? We're eating differently now. Where can I find those? And so for a long time, our students have made the decisions of what they're going to eat in school, and it works for us.
And
that's great, and I think so important.
Lauren,
go ahead.
Yeah. If I could add to that,
Absolutely.
too, our snack students, we actually took them up to the California School Nutrition Association conference in Sacramento, and they did a presentation up there, and we took them to the food vendor show, and so we gave them all clipboards, and they did do amongst 5 of them that we brought up there, they did a survey amongst themselves based on the foods that they tried, and 2 of their favorite items were the falafels and the veggie sausage. And we do include our snack students in on the menu planning. So they've, the beginning of this year, some of the things they wanted to see more on the menu were vegetarian soup. So we added the veggie chili. They want to see a salad bar in their school, and they wanted to see a veggie meat alternative for breakfast. So they were able to find that when they did the taste testing up at the food vendor show.
That's great. And I, of course, ran into you all, so it's so good to see you. But that's amazing that you get to bring the students and they get to try the food and then, of course, bring that back to the district. Wonderful. Well, I think that's going to be it as far as questions. Looks like we ran out of time. So just, of course, many thanks to our speakers for sharing great ideas, for powering up with plant-based meals in the kitchen. We hope that you've been inspired to incorporate these plant-based meals into your programs. We have provided our contact information in case you want to contact the speakers directly. Let me share that with you very quickly. Wonderful. Yeah, there's our contact information, and that'll be up for you. And this will conclude the webinar. So for school nutrition professionals, this session provided 1 hour of professional development. You can download a certificate of completion for your records by selecting the File tab at the top left of the screen and then selecting the File Transfer option. Change to the next one. This webinar was also approved by the Commission on Dietetic Registration. So RDs and DTRs can receive 1 continuing professional education unit. Please use the link to a Google form. So once you put in your name and RD or DTR number, you will then be able to download your certificate. So thank you all again for participating. Again, it was very inspiring, and I hope you have a wonderful day.